I told a disabled veteran he didn't deserve his parking spot. I pulled into the grocery store parking lot after a 12-hour shift at the fire station, exhausted and running on fumes when I saw it happen. A guy in an expensive SUV whipped into the last handicapped spot, jumped out looking perfectly healthy, and started walking toward the entrance like he owned the place. That's when an older man in a wheelchair rolled up behind him. The wheelchair had a small American flag attached to the back, and the man was wearing a faded Marine's cap. His right leg was missing below the knee. "Excuse me, sir," the veteran called out. "I think you're in a handicapped spot." The SUV guy spun around with this disgusted look on his face. "Yeah, and?" The veteran gestured at his wheelchair. "I have plates. I need that spot to get my chair out safely." The SUV guy laughed and pointed at a spot at the far end of the lot. "There's plenty of room over there, Grandpa. Maybe the exercise would do you some good." Then he turned and kept walking while the veteran sat there in stunned silence. I watched the veteran struggle to find another spot, eventually parking so far away I could barely see him. He had to navigate around cars that had parked too close, nearly getting clipped by someone backing out who didn't see him. By the time he made it to the entrance, I was already inside, but I kept thinking about that SUV guy's face, that smug, entitled expression. I found him in the produce section, talking loudly on his phone about some yacht club event while blocking the entire aisle with his cart. An elderly woman tried to get past him and he didn't even acknowledge her. A mom with a crying toddler asked him to move and he rolled his eyes and sighed like she was ruining his day. When a store employee politely asked him to keep the aisle clear, he snapped that he'd shop however he wanted and threatened to call corporate. This guy moved through the world like everyone else existed just to inconvenience him. I kept my distance and watched him terrorize 3 more employees before I saw the veteran roll through the automatic doors. The SUV guy noticed him too and actually smirked. He walked right up to the veteran's wheelchair and looked down at him with contempt. "You again? What, did you follow me inside to complain some more?" The veteran's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "I'm just here to get groceries like everyone else." The SUV guy leaned in close. "Let me give you some advice, old man. That parking spot goes to whoever gets there first. Having one leg doesn't make you special. You people think the whole world owes you something just because you went overseas and played soldier." A woman nearby gasped. The veteran's hands gripped his wheelchair armrests so hard his knuckles went white, but he still didn't say anything back. I'd heard enough. I walked straight up to the SUV guy and got right in his face. "You don't deserve that parking spot." His eyes went wide with surprise. "Excuse me?" I said, "You don't deserve it. That man lost his leg serving this country while you were probably learning which fork to use at your yacht club." He sputtered, and his face turned red. "Do you know who I am? My father owns half the commercial real estate in this city. I don't care if your daddy owns the whole state." I pointed at the veteran. "This man earned that spot with his blood. You just stole it because you're too lazy to walk an extra 50 feet. The SUV guy shoved my chest with both hands. I didn't even flinch. "I'm a firefighter," I said calmly. "I've carried people twice your size out of burning buildings. You really want to do this here?" His confidence cracked. He looked around and realized a crowd had formed. At least a dozen people had their phones out recording everything. The store manager came rushing over asking what was happening, and 3 different customers started explaining at once. The veteran finally spoke up and pointed at the SUV guy. "This man illegally parked in a handicapped spot, harassed me twice, and has been treating your staff like garbage since he walked in." He gestured at his missing leg. "I left this in Fallujah in 2004. That man's father called the manager's personal cell phone 10 minutes later, demanding his son not be trespassed from the store. The manager, a former Army medic himself, told the father exactly where he could put his demands and hung up. The crowd actually applauded. One of the employees offered to help the veteran with his shopping. Another customer paid for his entire cart. When we walked out together, someone had already reported the SUV to parking enforcement, and it was being loaded onto a tow truck. The veteran shook my hand in the parking lot and told me his name was Raymond. His grip was still strong. I told him mine was Derek and that it was an honor. Sometimes standing up for someone who served is the least we can do.